Welcome to the Dynasty Deep Dive. It is your host, Johnny Tuma. I am joined by a special guest, Matt, at Matt FF Dynasty on X, home of the Weather Report, home of a lot of really solid content. So I had to get him on the show today. Thank you for joining me, sir. We are going to be doing a 3-round, 10-team single QB mock draft today. So that's what we're going to do to help all you Dynasty players prepare for your rookie drafts. We're going to talk through who our guys are from this draft based on our landing spots and evaluations. So before we get started with the draft, just open it up to you, Matt. Talk to me about maybe your favorite kind of result from the draft. You know, one of the players you really liked who got a good landing spot. Who comes to mind?
Yeah, well, there's one that I love, but on the same hand, I also hate it as well because it's RJ Harvey. I love it because he landed in that premium spot, landing with the Broncos, going in round 2. But it now means I can't get him as late as I hoped I could in my rookie drafts. I'm in a fortunate position where I'm in a league. One league I'm in, we do our rookie draft before the NFL draft, just a fun league, a cheap league, but it's a lot of fun doing it before the draft. I got RJ Harvey at the 309. So compare it to where you've got to get him now, the 109, that value's completely gone. But at the same time, you can't complain because we've got that juicy landing spot landing with Sean Payton over there at the Broncos.
Yeah, it's like it's great when you prove you know ball. You're like, I told you he was good, but then the landing spot's a little too good where he's no longer a secret. Everybody's just gonna take
now he's overhyped. He's gone to the other end. It's Clyde Edwards-Helaire all over again.
I don't like him that much, actually. I guess there are people who are higher than me, and it's Sean freaking Payton. I liked Harvey. I did not expect him to go that early, especially without Caleb Johnson being off the board, and just seeing some of the guys like I had Devin Neal and RJ Harvey not too far apart, and just the discrepancy in draft capital. I made a tweet about this. I was like, this draft was the greatest, I do not know ball moment of my life. When they drafted Harvey in the 2nd and then Damian Martinez goes in the 7th, I'm like, why I get to rip up everything that I thought I knew. So that's a good one. What about I just kind of mentioned, for me, it's probably Damian Martinez because the Shedeur stuff, I knew he was a bit of an enigma. But what do you think was the most shocking or disappointing development from the draft?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on Shedeur. Obviously, that was the big one, the one that everybody spoke about. I know we did have some doubts about it, but to fall all the way to the 5th round, that was a real shot that fell that far for me. So that was probably the biggest one. But also a guy I really liked, Alec Iomana. I was kind of surprised that he fell as far as he did. I thought he would have been a lock for day 2, round 3 at the worst. So to see him drop to the 4th round was a little upsetting, but he kind of got an okay landing spot, landing with the Titans. Hopefully an opportunity there for him to show what he's got, and hopefully to prove people wrong on him falling as far as he did in the draft. So that was a little surprise to me personally. Just because I was quite excited by him.
Yeah, I mean, Theo Greminger, ex-player profiler, had him going mocked in the 1st round in some of his mock drafts. And then you see a guy like Chimere Dike get picked ahead of him to the same team. Again, that was another one where I'm like, I apparently know nothing. I'm a UF fan. I watched Florida. And I thought, okay, this Elijah Badger is a great player. DK's a speed threat. He'll probably go undrafted. Totally wrong. Totally wrong. First pick of the 4th round, ahead of guys like Io Manor, ahead of guys like Jalen Royals, Torrey Horton, who I still, and I'm sure you feel the same way, prefer those guys to DK, right? And it's just kind of funny because I do think it'll all come full circle where when the season starts and Devin Neal's balling out, and these guys,
you'll find them tweets from before the draft.
I told I should be the scout. You know what I mean? Not these NFL scouts, but well, cool, man. So we're gonna get this started here, this draft. So I'm gonna throw it up on the screen. I wanted to do a 10-team single QB mock, no tight end premium. And the reason is because it's kind of like dinosaur league nowadays, right? Everybody's doing superflex, everybody's doing tight end premium. I am actually in the same format, a 10-team single QB, and it's with my work buddies, and it's super competitive, and the draft's about to start. So I wanted to do this. I won the league last year, so I'm at the 110. So I'm
Nice.
curious to see how it unfolds. We kind of hinted at like that's RJ Harvey territory, Caleb Johnson, Colston Loveland. So curious to see who falls at 110 and who goes off the board there. Other funny part I'll add is like I try and get my name out there in the fantasy streets to everybody, right? I'm trying to grow my kind of like awareness. When it comes to my work buddies and people who are like not my fantasy football colleagues, I do not tell them shit about like
No.
where they can find my work. They don't have me on X, like because I don't want them to know I do this like this competitively as a gig, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm already in leagues with enough like other fantasy football experts who know all my takes. I have them all out there for them to see. So I just thought that was funny to just kind of say like I'm sure I'm curious, are you have a pretty big following. Are there any leagues you have with like personal friends where you kind of swipe under the rug that you've got an X page where all your takes are kind of out there?
Absolutely. With my close friends, they don't have a clue what I do in terms of what I do on X and things like that. They don't have the slightest idea. But obviously, there's people that do follow me that I'm in leagues with, friends that I've met through X and everything. That they see my rankings and they know where they need to jump to try and snipe my guys. So there's the downside of that when you do build a following up on X and you're in leagues with these people. But yeah, my close friends, they don't have a clue that I do any that. They barely know that I know much about the NFL, really. They think that I just play a little bit of fantasy football here and there and I follow along. So I like to keep it that way. Keep them. The less they know, the better.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you play pool and you pretend you can't hit a shot, right? And then you put
Yeah.
$20 on it, and then you end up taking
There we go.
everybody's money, right? So, well, cool. So, you know what, man? I'm gonna give you the 101 because I've
Okay.
got a kind of spicy take for 102.
Okay.
So why don't you kick us off?
I mean, yeah, it's a layup then for me at the 101 Aston Genty for me.
Okay.
We don't really need to go too deep into this. I think everybody knows by now who he is, what he's about. We've seen the tag generational banded about. People don't like that. I'm kind of on board with it. I think it depends how you define generational, I guess. If we're talking about the best prospects in the last 15, 20 years, okay, maybe he's not quite there, but he's right up there with some of the best. Bijan, Saquon Barkley. For me, he's pretty close to those guys. So for this class, he's the clear 101 for me in any formats, any league size. Yeah, 101.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, it wasn't that spicy, and I didn't want you to steal my thunder on something a little spicier. So I got to go with Travis Hunter, man, at the 102. This is not consensus, right? Like he's been going ahead of or behind Omarion Hampton pretty typically. But I had Rich from Fantasy Sanctuary on my show, and he said, and I'm almost there too, man. If Travis Hunter is a full-time wide receiver, I'm drafting him 101 ahead of Genty. When you talk about generational gold jacket type of guys, like someone who is the most likely to be a Hall of Famer out of this draft class, I think it's him. So I'm willing to swing for the fences here. I think the landing spot couldn't have been much better in terms of like Liam Cohen, James Gladstone. They seem to be enamored by this guy and seem to see him as an offensive first weapon. Will he maybe take a bit of a hit in terms of his usage because he's going to be on both sides? Sure. But I think he'd be surprised. A lot of people act like 80% of the snaps for Hunter is going to be like, damning to him. A lot of good wide receivers like Nico Collins, like an AJ Brown, they play 80 to 90% of the snaps and still as productive as they are. So I have no qualms with that. I'm happy taking him at 102 ahead of Hampton. I really like Hampton, but I absolutely love Hunter. So I'll throw it over to you back for 103.
Yeah, I'll just quickly add on Hunter as well. I think with the format, doing the 10 teams as well, I think you've got to shoot for that upside. You've got to shoot for the ceiling. And as you say, with Travis Hunter, you're getting just that. So yeah, love that pick. For me at the 103, this may be against consensus as well. I'm actually going Ted McMillan for the 103.
Let's go. That is spicy.
For me in Dynasty, it's the wide receivers. And I know there's been a lot of hype about this running back class, and rightly so as well. There's some great running backs in this class, but because of that, and because of the difference in what you're getting in guys like Travis Hunter and Ted McMillan to the guys later on in the draft at wide receiver, I'd rather get the stud, the guy that's just gone top 10 in the NFL draft, landed in a landing spot where he's going to be the alpha straight away on an offense that's hopefully going to keep ascending. On what we saw last year, it started slow last year for Bryce Young, looked like he was really struggling, but towards the end of the year, really started to pick things up. So I love the landing spot. I love the talent of Ted McMillan. And I'm more than happy to go and get my wide receiver early in rookie drafts and build around that wide receiver rather than taking a running back and hoping. As I say, this class is strong at running back. There's no denying that. But there's so much depth that I'm willing to wait a little bit longer and take a running back later on in the first, but go up and grab my guy at wide receiver at the top.
So do you still feel like you're doing best player available here? Like in your head, it's not about, positional, valuation. It's just, who's more likely to be a real stud in 3 or 4 years? It's McMillan over Hampton to you?
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said, it's more because after this, I've got like 4 running backs in one big tier. So if I've got that big pool of running backs that I can maybe move up into, depending on what your situation is in rookie drafts. But if I've got that kind of area that I feel I can take anybody in that spot, I'd rather just go and get the guy that separates himself at another position in Ted McMillan. So that's why I lean more to Ted, especially early on in rookie drafts.
Yeah, man, that top 10 draft capital, I feel like it's still flying under the radar. It's funny because everybody, when they got great landing spots, you see their dynasty valuation jump up. Ted just gets the perfect landing spot, awesome draft capital, and people are still like, meh. So it's just kind of funny. We'll just see.
What's he gonna do?
Yeah, what can the guy do? Come in with a cape and start flying around, right? So I really like him. I'm very high on him as well. Don't know if I could have pulled him ahead of Hampton, but I like the spiciness. And again, I think this just goes to show it's not as chalk as maybe people think it is. Because before our show, I was like, oh, we'll speed through these first couple picks. It's all pretty chalk. But if you're at the 104 here and Hampton is on the board, you got to take him, right? That's first round draft capital to a run heavy offense. Obviously fantastic testing at the combine, not worried about Najee Harris in the slightest. I think the only hurt here is maybe he might not ever be a true kind of receiving prowess that maybe you get from someone like a Travion Henderson, but that's totally fine if he's getting all the goal line work. So I'll pass it over to you at 105 now.
I mean, let's keep the spiciness going, I guess, because this is going to be another spicy pick. We spoke about him at the top of the show, RJ Harvey. I'm willing to take you right here at the
Let's go, dude.
I'm all about getting my guys on it. I'm about getting my guys. When it comes to rookie drafts, you enjoy your rookie drafts more when you've got your guys. At the end, when you're looking at your roster and you see your guy there, you can't beat the feeling. So, yeah, RJ Harvey for me. We spoke about it a little bit at the top of the show. Love the landing spot, landing with Sean Payton. The backfield that he's got to compete with at the Broncos. If you can't beat those out, then he's not going to do anything in the NFL. Yeah. He should be taking this backfield right away. He's super explosive. Looked incredible at UCF for the past few years. Obviously, the big concern is the age thing, but he was coming off a tough injury, transition from, was it quarterback? I think he was originally selected as a quarterback when he came to college. So the transition over to running back, what he's been able to produce in the final couple of years is nothing short of sensational. Looking at the metrics and the efficiency, he's only really just behind Aston Genty. He's up there with the best of them. So for me, I'm all about getting my guy, RJ Harvey here. Let's roll the dice and let's enjoy the ride.
Dude, that is a lot of fun. I think for me, this is a wild pick. It's I gotta scroll down to find him on here, right? So this is funny talking about getting him in the third, and this is now kind of what you might have to do if you really want him.
Absolutely.
A little bit to your point, a little bit of an older prospect doesn't necessarily matter to me at running back. When I posted a poll earlier this offseason, I was like, where is the absolute best landing spot for running back? Is it Pittsburgh? Is it Dallas? Or is it Denver? And there's some other options to throw in there, but I thought people were gonna pick Dallas, good offense, decent O-line. By far, 85% of the poll results said Denver. So people seem to be very high on the running backs in the Sean Payton offense. Harvey has shown the ability to be a solid pass catching back. I think this is like, and he ran fast, man. He ran a 4.40, and so he kind of checks all the boxes you're looking for in a guy that isn't just like a long-term pick. It's a guy that could potentially be a top 30, 40 overall fantasy player in his rookie year, right? So interesting pick for sure. Again, if I'm on the clock, I'm probably sprinting in the pick here to get Travion Henderson. I absolutely love this guy. I love his pass blocking prowess. I love his pass catching prowess. I love his explosiveness. You know, I've seen a lot of jokes about like, oh, why go get Jahmyr Gibbs at pick 6 when you can get him at pick 55, right? Like that's kind of how I feel about Henderson is legitimately this is a guy who he can be part of a rotation. He can get 10 to 15 touches a game, and he can still be a guy who puts up like 20 freaking fantasy points for you on any given week. So just that explosiveness, that home run threat, especially in a PPR league where I think he'll see a little bit more pass catching than someone like Judkins. That's who I'm going to go for at this pick. So over to you at 107, Matt.
Okay, so I'm gonna take it a bit more steady now. I'm gonna rein it in because I don't want all the listeners and the viewers to think, who's this guy that you've got in here, Johnny? He doesn't know ball, so I'm gonna rein it in. I'm gonna stick more to consensus in this pick. Quinshon Judkins for me at this point. Again, this is another. It feels like a perfect landing spot. Landing with the Browns, they've got a clear need at running back. Bringing in Judkins, who he is that hard-nosed runner. He will run through you. He doesn't need to run around you. He has got that in his game, but he doesn't need that. He can run through you. We've seen that with Nick Chubb, the success that he's had with the Browns. So for me, again, it's another great landing spot. The talent, we saw what he did alongside Travion Henderson. The fact that both of these guys were able to do what they did at Ohio State while being together, I think that just shows how incredible they both are, rather than being a negative to them both. I think that just elevates them both for me. So, yeah, again, happy to get him here. Another guy that I think, this is what I said at the top. This running back class is so strong in depth that you can get somebody like Judkins at this point, who would have been easily the running back one last year. So to get him towards the back end in a 10-team league, yeah, it feels like great value. So going back more to consensus, Quinshon Judkins, yeah, I like the pick here.
So I got to ask about this because I had definitely planned to bring it up at a certain point. And when we go to a running back in New England and a running back in Cleveland, those guys are going to be running through some snowy fields later in the year. And like I said, one of my favorite things you do on your X page during the season is you provide like a weather rating for the different games that are taking place. And it's super insightful. Like I remember looking at the windy game with the Cleveland Browns like a few years ago where Deshaun Watson was playing. And I was like just reading what you had to say about how crazy those winds were. I'm like, they were playing the Saints. And I was like, I'm going to fire up Taysom Hill because this just sounds like a Taysom Hill game. And it actually wasn't as great of a Taysom Hill game as I anticipated, but he did score a rushing touchdown. They were just running it the whole game because the wind was eating up the passes. So long story short, for the viewers, if you're not familiar with Matt, follow him because in season he's got really good guidance on how the matchups are going to be potentially impacted by the weather. So long way of saying, like, does weather report at all enter the back of your mind as you're going through your rookie picks?
I mean, in Dynasty, it doesn't really have much of an impact, but there is that little thing, as you mentioned, when you've got teams like Cleveland and you know there's going to be lots of wind, or Green Bay with the snow, the Bills with the snow. That leans more to a running game. That leans to a more of a chance of you seeing them playing in those conditions where they're going to run the ball more. So slightly in the back of your mind, maybe to me, it kind of says, oh, that's just giving Junkie that little bit more to bump him up my rankings. But to be honest, the weather thing is more of a redraft weekly thing that I think can benefit a lot of people. It's something that they're always just going to quickly go over it. I'm not going to take too much time on this, but the whole reason why I started that was because in this game now, there's no secrets in this game now. You've got access to so much information. There's no secrets and no way of gaining an edge on your league mates. So the weather was just this one thing that I thought nobody really pays attention to this. And then they turn on red zone on a Sunday, and they think, oh, why is my team not scoring many? And they see the snow coming down, the wind, and like, oh, that's why my players aren't scoring points. But they have no idea. So I just thought it's something that needs to maybe be a little bit more noted. It's something you don't really find on Twitter or Sleeper. So that's always why I got into that. But yeah, it's more of a redraft thing, more of a weekly thing to try and give you an edge than a dynasty thing. But there's just that little bit that maybe in the back of my mind helps me fall in love with these guys.
Did anything to give you an edge. And to your point, it kind of creeps up on you. Like you could, go to bed the night before and just be looking purely off skill of who you want to put out there. And then the next day comes up and you're like, damn, like this is actually could be detrimental to someone like, a perimeter wide receiver if they're in the wrong elements. So a lot of fun, man. I'll keep it going and get a guy who in the NFC South will likely have very little weather concerns. I got to go with my guy here, Emeka Egbuka. This is the other wide receiver, the next wide receiver up in terms of draft capital. I'll be honest, before the draft, I did have Luther Burden slightly ahead of Egbuka. That's just based on I just thought he was a dog. But I do think, a lot of times based on all the research I've done, draft capital is the most indicative thing we have to go off of for fantasy production. And I think you're getting him at a bit of a discount here almost because, he's behind Mike Evans. He's behind Chris Godwin. Like we said the same thing about JSN a few years ago. I don't think that he could have a great year this year. I think he could be in a better spot than JSN because this is a pass-first offense. Baker Mayfield loves targeting the slot. I do think Godwin probably moves out wide to try and protect from injury a little bit. Slot is a natural position to JSN, so I could see him coming in and having a great year one and also just being in a really good spot long-term in favorable passing conditions down there in Tampa Bay, right? So I'm gonna take this pick and be happy with it at the 108. And now I'll pass to you for the 109.
Yeah, so again, I'm going to keep dipping back to the running backs because there's another guy here that I really like, Caleb Johnson. He was a guy I was super high on coming into the NFL draft. He was actually my RB2 of the class. So I kind of bumped him down a little bit because he fell to round 3. A little bit surprised at that, to be honest. I thought it would have been a lot for round 2. We mentioned at the top of the show, like where RJ Harvey went. I thought that was more going to be like a Caleb Johnson kind of situation. But the one saving grace was the offense that he landed on. He could not have asked for a better offense to land on. The whole negative thing around Caleb Johnson coming into the NFL draft was, he can only play in a zone run scheme. He's got to play the outside zone run scheme. If he doesn't land in that situation, then he's dust. He's not going to be anything in the NFL. Well, he's landed in probably the offense that is the perfect fit for that kind of run style. The backfield, Jaylen Warren's there, but he's a guy that we keep hoping as a community. We keep thinking and hoping he's going to be that guy eventually. But Najee Harris kind of holding him back, especially towards the end of last year. It was all Najee Harris, that run hard kind of running back that Mike Tomlin loves. I think Caleb Johnson's going to fit perfectly into this backfield, and I think he's going to be the lead guy. So I'm happy to grab him at the end of the first round. You're probably going to be a contending team if you're picking at the back end of the first round. So to get a guy like Caleb Johnson to come right into your roster and be a starting running back for you, I think he's a great pick towards the back end of the first.
Dude, this guy could get 600 touches this year, and I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, with the trades as well, obviously, with Pickens going as well.
Getting rid of
quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. Nobody to throw the ball, nobody to catch the ball, just Caleb Johnson. And they're like, we're good. We can get rid of Pickens. We got this.
Absolutely.
So I love that pick. I think it is just an absolutely fantastic landing spot. I was very surprised he didn't go in the first 2 rounds. And the Steelers didn't have a second round pick. Maybe they would have taken him in the second if they did. So love that pick. I think this is kind of exactly how I anticipate it playing out in the draft I'm in. And I am at the 110, like I mentioned. And so I think the challenge for me here is like, this guy's my guy. I know you like him as well. The draft capital is nuts. It's not a position that you necessarily like is extremely coveted in fantasy, right? You're only starting one tight end in this format, no tight end premium. But if you've got a guy who could be, a top 3 or 4 dynasty tight end next year, you got to take it. So I'm taking Colston Loveland here. Think about it. I'm getting the player in a fantasy draft at the 110 who was the 10th overall pick in the actual draft. Like, that seems like a pretty good value. So I just have to take it. I'm a huge fan of Loveland. His production as it relates to like yards per team pass attempt, he wasn't in an offense that threw the ball a lot, but was extremely targeted and was the guy that made up a majority of their passing offense. Last nugget on revisiting Caleb Johnson for a second. To your point, Jalen Warren gets a lot of hype. Finished as running back 39 last year, kind of quietly, 15 games. So he's one of those guys, good player, maybe a little bit better in real life than he is in actual fantasy football. So well, that concludes round 1. I think these are pretty consistently going to be the top 10, like in some order like this. I almost do think there's like a bit of a tier after this. So let's kick it over to you for round 2, pick 1.
Yeah, so with this pick, I'm going with another one of my guys. This is a wide receiver that I really liked coming into the NFL draft. The landing spot, I just can't hold back, Johnny. I cannot take him. So it's got to be Trey Harris for me. As I say, he's a guy that I really liked coming into the NFL draft. And the fact that he landed with the Chargers feels like, again, another dream landing spot for somebody like Trey Harris. It's a receiver that the Chargers have needed, this kind of wide receiver that Trey Harris brings to them. Obviously, it kind of blends a little bit to like what they have with Mike Williams. And I know he's just actually come back this offseason, but he's getting up there in age. He's constantly getting injured. So it feels like a really good pick, a receiver that Justin Herbert's been crying out for. Obviously, they had Lad McConkey last year, who has excelled in the shorter routes, being that slot receiver, getting peppered with targets from Herbert, but that's because he basically had nobody else to throw to. So I think with Harris coming in here, he's going to have a great season. I think he could be one of the most productive rookie wide receivers from this class early because of the opportunity he's going to get from day one.
Dude, he's a dog. I love that you and I see eye to eye on a lot of like the players we like a lot and are higher than consensus on. I just can't say enough good things about him. I love his size. I love his athleticism. I think people kind of are dogging him a bit because he ran a 4.5 40, but I also think we've gotten just so spoiled with just really people run really fast in tights. Like this guy is he has game speed, right? And hopefully he can stay healthy. Wasn't able to stay healthy all last season, but was able to put up 1,000 yards in the limited games he did see. So, okay, I'll do pick 202. And I do think I would probably take this guy ahead of Harris, just because, again, I really do like to stick to my guns in terms of like where I rank these guys pre-draft. And then I don't like to discount them too much if, like, for instance, Luther Burden's, who I'm referring to here, he did get better draft capital than Harris in terms of went a little earlier than him. Some people are going to hate the landing spot, because there's DJ Moore and Rome Odunze. Like, that can all get thrown out the window quickly in terms of, like we said, a year from now, DJ Moore might no longer be with the Bears, or maybe this year, after 3 games, people realize he's in the Amon-Ra St. Brown role in Ben Johnson's offense. Whatever you want to call it, I do believe the talent will prevail, and that the guy is a great guy in the slot to get the ball in his hands as like kind of a gadget touches type of guy. That's always fun for fantasy football. To your point, it's always more fun when you get your guys. So Absolutely. This is just a guy who I'm willing to take a swing and miss on. Yes, there is a first-round receiver that both you and I skipped over to get these receivers in the second round. But again, I think this will go to show in like 2 years, you and I will look back and be like, see, we told Trey Harris and Burden was better than those other guys that were getting drafted a little higher. So, okay, over to you for 203, sir.
Yeah, and I'll just say, and if it doesn't happen, those tweets will be gone. You will never find those tweets. They'll be deleted. So there's no receipts for those guys if they do fail. No, but yeah, the next guy I'm going to pick is probably a guy that people think I don't like because I was on the Colston Loveland tight end 1 train, but I still think Tyler Warren, the tight end that's landed with the Colts. I still think he's somebody you need to be grabbing in your rookie drafts. As you mentioned, the tight end situation in fantasy is such a mess. When you've got somebody that's just being selected in the top 15 of the NFL draft, goes to a team now. I know there's a lot of uncertainty around the quarterback play over there with the Colts, but there's not really that much in the wide receiver core as well. I know Josh Downs is a guy that a lot of people like. Michael Pittman's had his moments, but he looked a little bit out of sorts last year. So for Tyler Warren to come in, I think he's going to command target straight away. We've seen how versatile he is during his time at Penn State. He's kind of one of those do-it-all kind of running backs, the Joker kind of tight end that can do a bit of everything. So I think he's going to be super interesting for fantasy. The caveat to that is obviously there's risk involved with that. When somebody is such a kind of a gadgety player, you do sometimes worry what's the actual consistency going to be like for these kind of players. So there is that little bit of doubt, but I think the ceiling is sky high for Warren. And as I say, I like the situation he's landed in terms of opportunity. It's just that the quarterback mess right now is the big concern. But yeah, I think Tyler Warren is somebody you need to be getting at this point in your draft.
Yeah, I mean, this is a discount, right? Like, I actually, before the draft, I said Colson Loveland will be the first tight end drafted. We posted that on the PlayerProfiler Twitter. I had my name or my face next to it. I'm like, man, I'm going to have to own this. So super cool being right about because like this was not something that Vegas had picked out at all. Everybody told you that it was going to be Tyler Warren. The funny part was every single person I've brought on this show to talk through our favorite prospects, every single person, because I pick guys that know ball, picked Colson, said they had Colson Loveland as their tight end one. So it's just kind of funny to see how things unfold. And now it's pretty consensus that, okay, obviously the draft capital was better. The landing spot's a little better with Chicago, in my opinion, in that Ben Johnson offense and having anybody throwing to you besides Anthony Richardson, right? So like, but at that point, like 14th overall pick in the draft, and you're getting him at the 13th pick in a rookie fantasy draft, like this is just too good of a value to pass up. And somewhat similarly here, like I'm not going to lie to you, I'm not overly high on this guy. I thought it was kind of like starting to get ahead of itself, kind of pre-draft, and when he ran the 4.29, and I'm honestly not convinced that he ever did run a 4.29. I think that might have been a favorable time. Good player, solid route runner. Matthew Golden, you can't ignore, again, first round draft capital any further than this at wide receiver, in my opinion. So I'll take him here. Will admit, might explore trading back if I was in this scenario. If someone was like, oh man, there's a first round receiver on the board, like let me move up, and I would be all ears. Because I think this is a guy, good player, might be a little better in real life than he is going to be for like high end fantasy football volume stats production. So over to you, Matt, at 205.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. If you can trade back, this is the kind of spot where I'm looking to trade back because it's one big tier for me of potentially 5 to 8 guys. So I'm happy to move back if I can. Yeah, but for me, I'm going to take Jaden Higgins at this point. Again, this is not a guy that I was super high on coming into the NFL draft, but he got that round 2 draft capital. He landed over with the Texans, and I think again this is another really interesting landing spot for him because for me, he's going to fit right into that wide receiver 2 role on this offense. I know they brought in Christian Kirk, who's a guy that I actually really like, but he's getting up there in age. He's more of the slot receiver, so Higgins is going to go out wide alongside Nico Collins. We've seen how successful this Texans passing offense can be. I know it struggled a little bit last year, but we saw the year before in Stroud's rookie season just how good he is and how good he can be. And I do think the Texans are going to take a jump forward in this upcoming season. And the other thing as well that I actually like about Higgins being on this offense is Nico Collins, as great as he is an unbelievable wide receiver, but he does struggle to stay healthy sometimes. So if there is a moment in this upcoming season where he goes down, Higgins has got an opportunity right away to become the wide receiver 1 in his rookie season. And if he can take that opportunity and run with it, I mean, the ceiling at this point is worth taking a shot on for me in the middle of the second round to get a guy who could potentially have the opportunity to be the wide receiver one if anything was to happen to Nico Collins during the season, yeah, I'm more than happy to take that shot at this point in the draft.
Yeah, they made a very interesting kind of set of decisions, right? With getting like someone of a lot of people comped Jaden Higgins to Nico Collins. So what do? They get his clone, and then Christian Kirk is a little bit comparable to Jalen Noel, right? They get his clone, and I think it's probably I think people at first for fantasy they're like, I don't know if I like this, but then like a couple games in, you'll realize, like, no, that's actually really cool having Nico Collins on both sides of the field, and it opens up the field. And yeah, having more than one slot wide receiver is not a bad thing too. And yeah, Jalen Noel runs a 4.3 and might have a little more juice than 30-year-old Christian Kirk, who's been battling injuries the past few seasons, right? So I think those guys are. I was surprised that Higgins went as high as he did in the actual NFL draft. But again, another really good value to get of someone picked so early in the second round at wide receiver, in the mid-second of your fantasy draft. So I'm going to go at 206 with a guy that he's a little bit polarizing, but he's got so much dog in him. The landing spot's solid. Fourth round draft capital is not bad for running back, right? Cam Skattebo to the Giants. I do think, like, I was scooping up Tracy at the end of drafts for next to nothing because I'm like, anybody, I could outrun Devin Singletary. That being said, I do think Cam will offer some serious threat to Tracy. He'll either steal the goal line work or he'll just be a 3-down running back. So I think this is a really good time to take a player like him and get that upside. So over to you at 207, sir.
Yeah, so again, going running back Bashal Tutin, I'm gonna grab him at this point.
Yeah,
super interesting landing spot. Obviously, going to the Jags with the new head coach Liam Cohen over there. We know what he did last year with a day 3 running back in Bucky Irving. I think it's really interesting that he's brought in another one of his guys that he obviously liked in the NFL draft, another speedster. And we're seeing reports even now coming out about the Jags aren't 100% sure on ETN. Is Tank Bigsby all that? Is he going to be a guy that's going to take the next step next year? So while all these rumors are flying about, that's only elevating Tutin in terms of his value. And I think if he gets the opportunity, it's kind of that once you let the genie out of the bottle, there's no putting it back in there. And I think he's that kind of guy. We're going to see loads of highlight reels on Twitter. People are going to be posting it left, right, and center. When he makes a big run, you're going to know about it on Twitter because he is that exciting. And there's no doubt that he's going to have at least one of those plays early in the season. So yeah, for me, happy to grab him here as a guy that I think can continue to increase in value even before we get to week 1 of the NFL.
Dude, he's got 2024 Bucky written all, or 2025's Bucky Irving written all over him. To your point, like, I love ETN ever since he came out of college. But yeah, you just can't ignore what you're seeing. They just got rid of Gabe Davis, right? Like, there is a new regime in town, and they have a way they want to do things. So they took him ahead of Skattebo in the draft, right? So he had better capital than Skattebo. I do like the landing spot for Skattebo just a bit better because it's a little less cloudy than, the Jags having to move off of Biggs or away from ETN and then him supplanting Bigsby as well, who ran well last year. But like, it would surprise nobody who knows Tutin's game for him to take that role. Bit of fumbling issues in college that he has to clean up. But dude, just a home run threat every time he has the ball. Incredible combine performance. So love the pick. I'll be honest, I struggle a bit here with who I want to go with. I'm going to think that you're not going to take my guy with the next pick. So I'm going to try and find a little value here and try and squeeze in 2 players I like out of these next 2 picks. I'm going to go with Jack Besh for my next pick here. I think, again, second round draft capital, you can't ignore it. There's kind of a wide open role on the side of the field opposite of Jacoby Myers. I think he's going to play a high number of snaps. I think he's going to be one of those guys who's in the right place at the right time to earn opportunities. And was playing a little college football, like EA college football on Xbox last night. just kept throwing him jump balls in the end zone, and he's coming down with them. Like, jokes aside, like, what if this is the Raiders' replacement for Devontae Adams? Like, I see a little bit of his nuance near the goal line in terms of getting open and going up for those contested catches. So Besh has been a guy that's been growing on me throughout the process, and I'm happy to take him here.
Love it.
Over to you, sir. 209.
Right, so hopefully this is not going to be our guy, or maybe hopefully it is, because it's never a bad thing to snipe somebody. So, but I'm I'm going for a tight end. Is that Mason Taylor? Is the guy
you sniped your boy.
Yes, there's no finer thing. I actually put a tweet about it yesterday. I'm the kind of guy that will jump up and snipe my friends. I am that much of an asshole. I will do that. But yeah, Mason Taylor for me is landed in again. It's another situation. We talk about the landing spots you want for players and tight ends. I think the Jets are probably top of the list in terms of where you want a rookie tight end to land. Going round 2 as well. I know there was a little bit of talks of maybe even getting round 1 draft capital. So slipped a little bit, but going still round 2, still solid draft capital, landing with the Jets. Obviously, they've just brought in Justin Fields. So there's that question mark of how much of the Jets are actually going to throw the ball. But at some point, they've got to. And they've only really got Garrett Wilson there to catch the ball. So I think this is a great landing spot in terms of opportunity, again, for Mason Taylor. And we spoke a lot about the running back class and how deep it is. I think this tight end class is going to be talked about a lot, especially when we get to the end of the year and we see how these guys have produced. Yeah, I think it's an exciting tight end class as well. So I'm getting Mason Taylor at the end of the second. I think that's great value.
Yeah, just to be candid here, I had him just like rankings wise or like on my kind of 1 to 10 scale. I have him ahead of all 3 of the past players we took, Scadaboo, Tootin, and Besh. Like, just in terms of watching him run the gauntlet drill, watching him push the sleds, watching his film. Like, this guy is a do-it-all tight end. He walks into a wide open room where Stone Smart is the biggest competition to him for tight end targets. Obviously, it's not great to have Justin Fields, but you know what? Justin Fields produced DJ Moore's best season, produced Cole Kmet's best season. You can't deny I was thinking of a way to do this without it being completely tacky, but just being like, did you know that Mason Taylor's dad is Jason Taylor? Everybody freaking knows, but like, there's some Hall of Fame bloodlines there, right? So you can't ignore those. So, good stuff. I'm going to go next here. Again, just looking at my rankings, I do have a tight end ahead of this guy, but I'm going to go ahead and take this guy anyways, because I think, again, when you look at like this type of format, you have to put a little more emphasis on running backs and wide receivers. This guy, I mean, second to JJ or RJ Harvey has probably climbed the most in the pre-draft process. Was kind of off my radar. Typically like to stay away from like 5th-year seniors and guys who, I don't know. He's got a little bit to work on from when I watch his game and just getting off the line. Like, he is quick and he can get off the line, but sometimes there's some extra steps there. And it gave me like horror flashbacks of Javon Baker for a minute. But, and it's funny, the Patriots ended up drafting him. And so I'm like, maybe this guy really is Javon Baker and I might be on to something here and maybe I can avoid him. But that wide receiver room is just begging for a target earner to emerge. I like his explosive ability after the catch. So I'm going to take Kyle Williams here at the end of the second. And this is pretty standard where he's going from the drafts that I'm seeing taking place.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we get into the third, we are going to roll a quick promo and we'll be right back.
Rookie. It's all about rookie talk in fantasy football right now. So why not go use all that knowledge to do something other than a mock draft? Chris Jimino won $8,000 with just 2 teams last year, and each draft took 5 minutes. That's pretty good ROI. You can start doing rookie drafts for money today on Fast Draft. The Origins tournament is live. It is the place to go and monetize your knowledge of rookies and use your favorite Player Profiler host promo code for a $25 deposit match. Now let's go start drafting faster.
Okay, speaking of drafting faster, let's do a little bit more rapid fire here with this last round. Let's try and keep it under 45 seconds per pick. So you're on the clock at 301.
Yeah, keep it simple. Not an exciting pick, but I think Cam Ward deserves to be picked at this point. I know it's 10-team league, so kind of quarterbacks again gets even bumped down a little bit more. But the guy just went first overall in the NFL draft. So for me, I think it's a point where you've just got to take the quarterback at this situation. I think he's going to be a solid QB2 in fantasy. Can maybe push towards the higher end of that if things go right for him. So again, it's just taking the talent, the guy that's just gone first overall. Happy to just grab him here in the third round.
Yeah, no, I mean, probably a little later than he may go in a draft like this, because if it's a work league like it is, how I had kind of hinted the scenario, I saw Bryce Young go in one of my leagues in a single QB at the 102 a few years ago, and I had the 103 fully ready to take JSN, and I'm like, I guess I'll just take Gibbs. That's totally fine.
Shit.
Yeah, sucks, right? So I will go with Terrence Ferguson here next. I think this is, again, another tight end, second round draft capital, awesome offense. I could just see McVay talking to Les Snead about the vision for Terrence Ferguson, and that makes me excited. So that's why I would go with him here. I think this is a great spot to get a second round tight end. So over to you at 303.
Yeah, so this is a guy that's actually jumping up a little bit in my rankings ever since the NFL draft. I'm coming more and more around to the idea of taking him a little bit earlier. Jaden Blue just landed with the Dallas Cowboys. We mentioned at the top of the show about the backfields that have been spoke about as the ideal landing spots. Where do we want these rookies to land? The Cowboys was right up there, and I think his play style, that electric, that quick burst, that explosiveness that he has is going to complement Javonte Williams perfectly. It's the running back they've been crying out for ever since Tony Pollard left, to be honest. So I think he's going to slot right into that offense. And I think he could be better than Javonte Williams, to be honest. I think he can take over this backfield if given the opportunity. So opportunity is there. Let me get my guy.
What did I say? Like, if there's anything you take away from this show, two people that I could actually be better running backs than Evan Singletary and Javonte Williams. Like, suit me up. Like, if those guys are on your roster, give me a call.
Sign me up. If we're trash talking Javonte Williams, sign me up, because if you've known me for a long time, I was the biggest Michael Carter fan, and I was an absolute stan of Michael Carter over Javonte Williams. So I've managed to get Michael Carter into a podcast in 2025. That's an achievement in itself. But the fact that we get to talk smack about Williams as well, yeah, I'm happy with that.
Okay, well, cool. I'm going to go with the guy who I personally thought was the better of the two Iowa State receivers. Now, again, we don't ignore draft capital. It is what it is. But I think in a year from now, Christian Kirk's deal is up. This just looks so different. He could be the guy I see the most being like going into 2026, being like, holy crap. Like, you remember how we were talking about the Stephon Diggs role and how he averaged 17 points a game and in Houston? Well, now it's no. And I think he could do it as a rookie as well. Like I said, I think he could challenge Kirk for that primary slot role. They've shown they drafted a guy like Tank Dell and kind of made him earn it, but did some punt returns, showed out in the preseason as a rookie, and by halfway through his rookie year, he was on the field the majority of the snaps. I'm not saying that's 100% the arc for Noel here, but I can't pass on him, so that's why I'm taking him here. So over to you, sir, for the 305.
Again, I'm going to go for another one of my guys, Brashard Smith, running back, landed with the Chiefs. I mean, you can get him a lot later than this, I'll be honest. You can get him later than this in your rookie drafts, but this is where I'd rank him. I'd even take him around where I took Blue, to be honest. Love the landing spot. People are going to talk about, he was a seventh round draft pick. Look at who the starting running back for the Chiefs is right now and where they took him. Draft capital means nothing. Andy Reid's been crying out for a pass-catching running back. We know how much he loves him. We saw it with Jerick McKinnon, what he was able to do. Samaje Perine even a little bit last year. He was the one that they was kind of relying on to do the passing work. I think Smith's going to fit right in as a pass-catching running back. And hey, I think he can even run the ball exceptionally well. I know he's got tagged as the pass-catching down back because he played wide receiver in college for a long time before switching over to running back, but he's also shown he's a great runner of the ball as well. So, yeah, get my guy at this point in the middle of the third.
So spicy, dude. Like ahead of Dylan Sampson,
I've done it, Johnny. I've done it.
Yeah, you said this is not my first time. Like,
what did I say right at the start? If I can get my guys, I'm getting my guys.
You're getting your guys, bro. Well, I like that. And so you really do you think by the end of his rookie year, he could challenge Pacheco for that starting role?
I think he's definitely going to be in a committee with Pacheco. And if Pacheco doesn't look like the running back that he did before the injury, we saw at the back end of last year how he didn't look the same running back. Now, I know he was kind of rushed back from that injury and maybe he just wasn't 100%. So I'm willing to see what happens in the offseason. But as I said, I think Brashard Smith, more than just a pass catching running back, he's shown when he transferred over to running back at SMU and ran the ball, he was pretty damn good at it. So I think he's got a real shot at least being in the committee. And hey, who knows what could happen in as the season goes on.
Dude, I love a spicy 7th round draft pick in the 3rd. So I'm gonna basically, you're zigging, I'm zagging. Like just going off of like who's at the top of my list based on a lot of that biggest factor is draft capital, right? Like if you're getting a 2nd round tight end in the late 3rd of your rookie fantasy draft, like it's not bad practice. The one red flag I have with Arroyo is it's just his knee issues, man. Like he had issues in college that limited his production. He didn't participate at the combine due to knee issues. Like it would not surprise me at all if this guy's not on the field as much as you expect him to be. So that's my big red flag here. If anything, this might be another area where like I'm looking to maybe explore moving because I think I'm okay with taking some of the guys behind him, but just for illustrative purposes here, if I'm on the clock and I can't trade this pick, it'd be hard for me to pass on a 2nd round tight end much further than this. So over to you at pick 7.
I'll go for Alec Iomanner at this point. As I said at the top of the show, really surprised that he fell to the 4th round. I think he's got far more talent than a 4th round wide receiver. Lands with the Titans, who are obviously going to be a completely new look with Cam Ward there. And as I said, he's a guy that I really liked as a prospect at Stanford. And I think he's going to slot into this offense perfectly alongside Calvin Ridley, who's, let's be honest, not getting any younger either. So I think there's a real possibility if he can shine in his rookie season, his value is only going to elevate from where you're getting him in rookie drafts.
Yeah, I like it. I think that's a solid pick. This gets tough for me because it's like I want to be fun and wild here, but again, like this is a guy who I really like pre-draft. I don't love the landing spot, but I don't actually hate it maybe as much as the discount is giving me here. Like this is, again, we're taking guys like Tootin and Scattaboo in the middle of the 2nd. They went in the 4th round. Dylan Sampson got 4th round draft capital. Obviously, he's going to be playing 2nd fiddle to Judkins, but I could see this being kind of a thunder and lightning scenario with Sampson being the lightning and actually being a solid fantasy player. So I'm taking stabs at running back here. I'm prioritizing draft capital. I really like Sampson. I actually had him almost as my RB5 pre-draft just based on tape, so I can't pass on him here.
Love it. So for me, the final pick, Devon Neal. I think we spoke about him at the top. I know you liked him pre-draft. I liked him pre-draft. The fact that he slid as far as he did, was it the 5th or 6th round he fell to? So
6th round, yeah,
6th round, which a shocking fall for him, to be honest. I thought he would have been at the top end of day 3 if it was a day 3 pick. So like the landing spot again. It's obviously Alvin Kamara's backfield. We all know that, but again, he's getting up there in age. They clearly don't trust Kendre Miller. He's been a guy that we've all wanted to take that next step and be in that committee with Kamara, but every time he gets the opportunity, he can't seem to grasp it. So I feel like they're now looking Devon Neal to be that guy to complement Alvin Kamara. So again, just taking a shot at a running back late on in rookie drafts.
Yeah, man, I love Devon Neal. I get the taking him Jaden Blue. Taking Jaden Blue over him. The draft capital is better as well. I don't know if I could get myself to pull Brashard Smith in front of Devon Neal just because I really like him so much. And I also think he's one knee injury away from Kamara or a missed game away from, carving out a role. I think he's that type of player who, if he gets an opportunity, he'll seize it. So I absolutely love that pick. I'm super happy he went off the board. I would have broke my soul to do three rounds and not get Devin Neal in there. I'm going to close it out. And maybe this is a little spicy. So I finally get to be a little spicy. I'm going to take Jalen Milroe, man. I can't. If this was how the draft was really working, I'm not letting it go to be a free-for-all for waivers and passing on, a guy with that sort of rushing upside. To your point, in a 10-team QB league or single QB league, like you've got to swing for the fences, right? And, getting a guy like him who could offer that type of upside with his legs, as long as he doesn't have someone like Tyler Warren coming in to be the wildcat quarterback or the tush-push extraordinaire, which will be so funny if that actually ends up happening and Tyler Warren is like running the tush-push. Like someone brought it up and I can't unsee it. But Jalen Milroe, tons of upside. Not, he wasn't the second quarterback drafted. He wasn't the third, but I am taking him as the second quarterback off the board in this draft just because of his rushing upside and what that means for fantasy football. So this is our board. I think Matt and I are we're going to die by this thing. Like we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it. Matt, thank you so much, man, for your thoughts, your analysis, not being afraid to color outside the line and just put every pick in chalk. I love that. So before we close it out, just give the viewers anywhere that you want them to find you. You've got a great X page. Anything else you want them to know about?
Yeah, I'll just start by saying thanks again, Johnny, for having me on. This has been a lot of fun. I like a little bit of back and forth about those spicy picks. It's been a lot of fun. So thank you for that. But if you do want to catch any of my work, as you mentioned over on Twitter, Matt FF Dynasty. I'm a writer for DLF as well. So I've got articles coming out over there at DLF. And as we mentioned during the show, in season, the weather report, I'm becoming famous more for the weather report than I am for my actual fantasy football content. So I think that says it all. It says how much people are taking it and it's been well received. So yeah, if you do want to get that little bit of an edge maybe in your leagues, be sure to check that out during the season. But again, just thank you for having me on. It's been a lot of fun.
Dude, thank you for joining. And you're the exact type of guest I love to bring on. People who, look in the darker areas that no one's checking in. Hey, is anybody talking about the weather? Maybe that's not you are great. You're what makes fantasy football space as a whole. People like you are what makes it great. So if you like the show, drop a like, give us a comment, any questions, any picks you thought were dog crap, let us know. We will argue with you in the comments. And if you want to see more of our show, my show, please subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.